Hello, this is Sophomore Astrology. My name is Sarah, and for this video, I'm going to talk about the Sagittarius rising sign or the Sagittarius Ascendant. Now, I am in pursuit of finishing all the rising sign videos, but someone asked for me to do the Sagittarius rising next, so that's just what I'm doing for right now. So, and just FYI, I use the word rising and ascendant interchangeably, but basically, what is the ascendant sign? The ascendant sign is someone's mask. It is your externalized personality. When people first meet you, what impression do they get initially? You know, this is the people basically describe your rising sign when they meet you, when they say like, oh, when I met you, I thought you were this way, that way, da 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 da. Like, what they're describing is essentially the ascendant sign. You know, it is also too, like, when people say don't judge a book by its cover, the cover is the ascendant sign, right? So, yeah, in a nutshell, that is what the rising sign and the ascendant sign is. Now, when we're talking about how to calculate the ascendant sign, it's fairly easy. You just Google birth chart calculator or rising sign calculator. Both of those searches will kind of give you where you need to go in order to compute all that information. What you need to know your date of birth. You need to know the city you were born in. And then you also need to know your time. Now, time is very important with calculating your ascendant because depending on the time, that indicates the degree, and the degree will let you know, are you like a solid Sagittarius rising, or do you have the traits of being more like a Scorpio rising, you know, the sign before, if it's an earlier degree, or if it's a later degree, do you have more signs that's more like a Capricorn rising, right? So that's why it's important to really know your birth time and get very specific on what time you were born, right? So yeah, that's how you calculate it. So when I do these videos, I kind of talk about the celebrities that have the same rising sign because in essence, you know, like the general population really don't know the ins and outs of these people. You know, they're just what we see on screens for the most part. You know, the general population really doesn't know, you know, and it's the initial impression, and, you know, it's the first impression. It's just the essence and the energy that emits off of someone. You know, so that's very much like celebrity energy. So some of the celebrities that I've found that have Sagittarius risings are Scarlett Johansson, Jada Pinkett Smith, Kevin Kline, Bruce Lee. We have Danny Glover, Brad Pitt, and I hope I say his name right, but it's Ian Glenn. So these people I found who have Sagittarius risings. So I hope that kind of helps with the visual of this energy. Now, the next thing I kind of want to talk about is that the rising sign is important, just not like kind of understanding how you come off to people. There's also other things in the chart that kind of lets you know what kind of energy you emit off when you first meet someone. But it's also important to know because the rising sign sets up the rest of your houses, right? So we have Sagittarius in the first house. Then we have Capricorn in the second house, Aquarius in the third. Then we have Pisces in the fourth. Then Aries is in the fifth. In the sixth house, we have Taurus. Gemini is in the seventh house. In the eighth house, we have Cancer. In the ninth house, we have Leo. And Virgo is in the 10th house. And then we have, after Virgo, sorry, I'm going based off my, my memory. After Virgo, what goes next? Virgo, Libra is in the 11th house. And then last but not least, we have Scorpio in the 12th house, right? So that's basically the makeup of someone's houses, right? So to get right into it, you know, Sagittarius in the first house. How is this energy? What is this energy like when someone has this placement, right? Honestly, when I was like writing my notes about this, it's like one thing I want to mention is it feels like Sagittarius rising people are just always invited to parties because they always provide that like bouncy excitement, you know, because they're immutable fire. So they have that flexible, adaptable energy that just emits off of them. But it's because they're of the fire element with Sagittarius being fire. It's kind of like it adds a level of, you know, just being fiery, it being exciting and being passionate, you know, that's very fire energy, you know. If you're into tarot, fire is considered the wand, you know, and just think about how powerful a wand could be, you know, with how much energy it has. the biggest thing to take away with people who have Sagittarius rising or ascendants is that, like, Sagittarius is ruled by the planet Jupiter, and Jupiter is all about being expansive and growing and learning. It's also a very spiritual planet because Jupiter also rules Pisces, right? So it's all about, like, going to foreign lands and finding yourself. It's all about, like, higher education, right? Kind of like learning it when the learning that you do in your adulthood, you know, especially in the second part of your life. You know, this is the guru, mentor, mentee, professor energy. These are like energies you get from learning from spiritual leaders. You know, these people kind of like, they embody an energy where it's like they really want to understand spirit, and they really want to learn through experience and just having human life experience. This is very like soul expansive energy. So these people will emit a very like adventurous, a very explorer, very much like willing to just dive into situations and just let it be. You know, that's very mutable fire energy. And these people seem like, you know, they're ready to just kind of like put themselves in situations, you know. It's a little different than Aries because just Aries just wants to go for it, but Sagittarius just wants to throw themselves in, if that makes sense. So yeah, that is in a nutshell kind of explaining what it kind of means for that Jupiter energy to be there, right? I feel like these people definitely come off being adventurous, very fun, very lively. But also the thing with mutable energy is that like this energy is very bob and weave like, you know, this is very like flexible. It goes with the flow, you know, or it just in an essence, they're able to kind of really like just in their own energy go here and there, whether it's in thought, action, or anything like that. That's how like a Sagittarius rising kind of comes off, you know, and I don't know. It's just kind of like, it's very like these people seem like they're very adaptable people to move and to get around. And also too, when we're talking about the mannerisms of someone with the Sagittarius risings, I kind of feel like they might have very quick mannerisms, you know, or they could be very agile as well, because we're talking about Sagittarius is the archer. So this could be a very athletic person, or they could just be very quick about how they like, just, they have a quickness to them, you know, excuse me. So yeah, that's in essence like kind of what comes off when you see a Sagittarius, when you have Sagittarius in the first house. It's like your initial impressions, people are just going to think you're like a Sagittarius, which is a very fun, lively, jokesy, trickster, you know. They seem like they always got something up their sleeve, but it's usually a joke. These people are very like funny people as well. They come off very funny because they see things in a different way. You know, so, yeah, that's Sagittarius in the first house. Now, the next placement I'm going to talk about is Aquarius being in the third house. Now, the third house is all about your communication. I also consider it your learning style because it's also your early childhood development or early child education. It's also how someone might speak. It's the way they kind of might form words together. So when we have someone with the Aquarius in the third, they might learn in a weird way. Honestly, people with this placement, what they remind me of is, you know, that like that kid, you know, we were like learning a math problem in class, right? And this kid, he always got like, he or she, but I remember it being he, they always got the answer right. But the way that they would explain it to me was just weird. They had weird steps, but they always got the right answer. You know, they always had like some different, unique, weird way of learning things. Maybe they had a mnemonic that was different than anyone else's. To remember something, or they just like had a technique that might have been different. They say, oh, you know, like it was just something peculiar or different with how they approached education, and that was the way that they learned. It's like they almost needed to do something in a way that no one has done before in order to learn and really grasp an idea, you know. I also kind of feel like these people, like, because Aquarius rules like ankles, calves, and the shin and circulatory system. I feel like these people might need to move in order to think. They might need to walk around. These are the people who you see in movies who are walking around trying to understand a concept, right? They need to move, walk around, move their arms. It's like movement is involved with learning, you know? But also, too, Aquarius is a fixed air sign, and it's in a house that's used to being mutable. So it could also mean that maybe that, you know, there's a tendency to maybe be a little bit closed-minded. Once you kind of learn something, you kind of let yourself and your brain just let that be. You know, you don't really want to relearn or rewire certain things maybe, you know, because maybe you learned it a certain way, you took the time for it to be unique and specific to you, and then once somebody tells you, oh no, this is not right, it's like, nah, it's too late. My brain already thinks it this way, so it is what it is, you know. Excuse me. So yeah, that's pretty much my take on Aquarius in the 3rd house. Now, Pisces in the 4th house. The 4th house is feminine energy. It is nocturnal energy because it's also ruled by Cancer, right? So, the 4th house is all about, you know, that like home, comfort, you know, the things that make us feel cozy. And it also speaks to how maybe someone sees feminine energy, you know, whether it's the feminine parent that they had in their life, or it's simply just their mom was the person who was the feminine parent. You know, with Pisces being in the 4th house here, it's like Pisces is so like dreamy and ethereal. You know, it's so fantasy-like without the sci-fi, you know, or maybe sometimes with the sci-fi. But in this case, it's like spirituality, and maybe like this person, maybe simply like their feminine parent or their mom was kind of like a lost soul. You know, there's a part of them, it seems kind of lost, like not all the way here, because maybe they're literally like existing in a whole nother dimension, you know. Maybe they felt like they couldn't really connect with their mom because they weren't like physically here all the time in this world. Whether it's like, you know, unfortunately, maybe their mother or the feminine parent dealt with something like, you know, like alcohol abuse, drug abuse, where they're just not mentally here for them. Or it could mean like maybe there's a family history with that too, because the 4th house is about ancestral roots. So that could be just something that travels in the family, where maybe the women in the family deal with stuff like that, you know. What else is something I could say? You know, it's like femininity is more of an experience. It's not something to be explained. It's not something to wrap your head around. Maybe people with this placement, they understand femininity to be more of an experience, or they just always, like, feminine energy was just always hard for them to really grasp and understand, whether it was mentally or physically. You know, femininity is a spiritual experience. So that's what I would say when you have Pisces in the 4th house with that placement. Now, the next one you have Aries in the 5th. Now, what's interesting and what I love about this energy, and specifically, because the reason why I talk about the 5th house is because it's an exciting house. You know, the 5th house is ruled by Leo, right? And this house is all about like dating and just the liveliness of someone. It's what makes you shine. It's your limelight, you know? It's also kind of like that childlike energy and spirit that just, you know, you have to nurture to make sure that it never dies, right? That's what the 5th house is. So when it comes to like dating or being lovers or romance, like I love that Aries is in the 5th house, because these people are so straightforward. You know, when they like someone, they might just go up to them and tell them how much they like them. They're not really that afraid. Aries is very much a sign that knows how to act without fear, even if it is there. They, you know, they know how to fake it till they make it, you know? Or I could say, like, even if you feel like you don't embody this is energy that is probably within you to do, you know? You could be a very forthcoming lover where you're not afraid to kind of really bear your heart on your sleeve. And it's also, too, with Aries being in this house, there's a level of competition with dating. So either you're that person that everyone is competing to date, you might have a lot of suitors coming after you and trying to get to you or get with you, or the vice versa, where you are one of the competitors, but you might be the most competitive one out of all of them because of this placement. You might end up winning the heart of the person you want to, you know, win the heart of, you know. Or in essence, you know, this is also kind of like someone who likes speed dating. You know, they like to get straight to the point. What's your name? What do you do? What are you looking for? And kind of tell me what your characteristics are and what your traits are, so I can know we can get along. Once those questions are answered, they're able to kind of like go forward if they want to go forward with someone, you know? These are very straightforward people when it comes to dating. These are people who do not play games. They know what they want and they go after it when it comes to the person that they're interested in. So yeah, that's Aries in the 5th house. Now, the next house I want to talk about is Gemini in the 7th. So because the 7th house rules like long-term relationships, whether they're business or platonic or romantic as well. This is also the house that rules marriages. So, excuse me, to say it in essence, like this could be like the most concrete, simple way of looking into it is like, okay, you might marry a Gemini, but that's a very like very elementary way of saying it, because this could just mean that for your lifetime, you have a lot to learn when it comes to your long-term relationships, because you are learning how to, you're learning the balance of what it means to be Gemini versus Sagittarius, because Sagittarius and Gemini are on the opposite side of the wheel, meaning that they are polar opposites. They are polar extremes, right? Because Sagittarius is mutable fire, but Gemini is mutable air. So you're kind of learning how to be adaptable in your action, and you could be attracting people who are teaching you how to be flexible and adaptable in your thought, in your communication, how you think, right? Because I said you had that Aquarius in the third house that can make you very fixed in your thoughts. And what these people they will make you maybe think things a different way and teach you how to be more adaptable and not to be so like stubborn in your thought, they're teaching, that's what they're basically teaching you, is to be like that, So, I mean, in essence, maybe this Sagittarius rising person, they might attract people who are very much like, who have different sides to them, who are very multifaceted. You see them one day and they're in this mood and they're thinking this way, and then literally the next day they're the opposite, the polar opposite of who they were the day before. They might be very much attracted to people who are very light, very bouncy, who are it's easy for them to have a free and expansive mind. These are people who also too, this could just be people who are very attracted to how someone thinks, they might attract business partners who are very good at brainstorming and coming up with fresh new ideas. If you're Sagittarius rising and I feel like you're trying to come up with a business plan, maybe you need some Gemini people in your corner to kind of like help you break the mold and really be that catalyst in thought, because maybe that's all you need is a new business idea, something simple, and then you're able to kind of go forward with that, so yeah, that's in an essence what I think of like Gemini in the 7th house. Now, the next house we're going to talk about is Virgo in the 10th. Now, the 10th house, in essence, is someone's legacy. It's also masculine energy. It's your career. It's your reputation. It's your public image. And now that Virgo is in the 10th house, like I said before, I don't know if I said it before, but all these signs are comfortable in each house because the element of the sign and the element of the house match. So Virgo is an earth sign. It's mutable earth, but it's in a Capricorn cardinal earth house. So it's like these people, they will not only just work hard, but I feel like these people, the reason why they might excel in career is because they are the detailed oriented person. Maybe during orientation, your job orientation, they will pick up all the details, and that's what will probably give them the edge over anyone else, is that they understand the inner workings of everything that's going on. So they might be very good at problem solving. They might really be good at seeing a situation for what it is and really pick it apart and put it back together in a way where either if two employees weren't working together, they kind of or were not getting along, they're able to kind of bridge that gap. If a machine breaks, they're able to really put it together again. These people are such perfectionists because they understand what maybe in their mind is a perfect system, and they're able to kind of, recreate that, if you will, also too, the sign Virgo is representative of the Virgin, and the ancient meaning and the ancient definition of Virgo is to be complete, and when we're talking about being completely complete, their career might be focused on either completing themselves or others, whether it's they choose a career that might be a little bit more, it might complete people around them just off of the monetary value that they're going to increase within themselves based off of the career. Or if the career itself is a very healing career, or it's in some way kind of gives back it to society, because Virgo's a very servicing sign. So they might service people. They might be known to be that's also to their public image, where they might be known. Like, that's the legacy that they leave behind, is how detailed oriented they were, how much they served other people. You know, that is very much Virgo in the 10th house, right? It's like bringing that perfectionism and that mutable energy that is Virgo into a house that's usually used to just maybe pushing forward. It allows someone to really be flexible and adaptable when it comes to their career. They might even just move careers a lot, you know, but they might do it in a way that makes sense and that's very stable still at the same time, you know. So yeah, in so many ways, that is the Virgo in the 10th house placement. Now, the last one I'm going to talk about is that Scorpio is in the 12th house. Now, I've been thinking a lot about Scorpio energy just in general, but when you have Scorpio in the 12th house, it's because maybe that's also too why maybe the Sagittarius might not be so interested in understanding the life lessons that come with being a Scorpio, because they probably were a Scorpio in a past life, or they might have explored that energy in a past life. So in essence, it's like if you remember who you are and you really look in the depths and you try to understand who you are spiritually, you will very much understand that you were a Scorpio, or at least you really understand Scorpio energy, right? Because the 12th house is about spirituality, it's about past life, it's about karma, it's about the unknowing, your undoing. And I think what people with Sagittarius risings need to remember is that, like, Scorpio is fixed water. So what do you need to remember? What could be your undoing? You know, what will make you fall? What could cause you to self-sabotage yourself? And I think if you don't remember that, you know, you have that ability to really tap into the depth of yourself, you know, to really learn how to transform yourself. You know, it's like sometimes I feel like Sagittarius people or Sagittarius risings are prone to depression because it's like they let their mind really fall in the depths and they resist it. But it's kind of like, just let yourself fall, let yourself be in that darkness, because there's a reason why you're there. Sometimes just being in the dark doesn't naturally equate to being evil, right? Sometimes you're meant to be in the dark just for a little bit, because then you're able to really understand what it's like to really go through the mud, to come out shining, to be that lively, adventurous person. You know, it kind of reminds me of comedians, right? Where comedians, they're so funny and lively, and when they're on stage, they give such great energy. But to be honest, most of the time, comedians are taking the darkest, roughest parts, the most like shameful, fearful times of their lives, and they're able to really reflect on those. And the way that they heal is by bringing it up to the light for other people to share and see and show. And I really feel like that's what Sagittarius energy is that they've kind of like taken the darkest parts of themselves, shined them off, and are able to show people, you know, regardless of like, you know, all the things that I've been through, you know, this is me being a lively, adventurous person who still wants to explore and really wants to go out in this world and do the things that make me me and show who I am and really just continue to learn who I am, you know? So in essence, that's kind of like my take on Sagittarius rising or Sagittarius Ascendant. Let me know if anything like kind of that I brought to your attention, that I kind of like let you see in a different way. If this resonates with you, let me know. And of course, like, share, subscribe, comment on this video. And I hope you have a good rest of your day.